All right, welcome back to Edgework on the Hammer Betting Network, a daily live NHL show Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. You can find us on YouTube at Edgework, and you can find us on Twitter as Edgework Show as well. And if you'd like to track our picks in real time, see how everything's going, see how we've done on the season, we are up so far on the year between all the different groups across every day. So hopefully we can continue that here today. But you can find us in the BetStamp app. On the Find Bettors section, you can search up Edgework on there. Lots of games to get into tonight, but before we do, there was a few stories going on in the NHL recently. So Money, I'm going to lean on you here, the tortured Canucks fan that you are. It's been a very up and down season so far. You're looking basically for Bruce Boudreau to be fired. And I was listening to an interview with Darren Dreger the other day, and he was joking about how even the media is at the point of every other day they've fired him and then they bring him back. But most recently, the weirdest thing that went on was the Vancouver Canucks release a statement on behalf of Bo Horvat, I guess, saying he doesn't want to talk about the trade. He's focused on being here, and he's not going to make any statements about the trade. And then an hour later, he comes out and talks about the trade and talks about the statement. And then, as Russ was talking about before we came into the show here, he goes out into the game and scores right away. What is going on in Vancouver? What is happening right now with the Canucks?
Yeah, I wish I could have a concrete answer to that, to be honest. We've touched on this before, that it's bad enough when the team is not playing well on the ice, and then you compound all the issues with all the off ice drama. In terms of Bruce Boudreau, I don't think he'll be fired at this point. I think that we can probably rip that ticket up. Reason being is that this owner of the Canucks, Francesco Aquilini, he's always had this thing that just get me into the playoffs. He'll get his couple of games of the great of the gate revenues. Yeah, and he just sees that he just looks at the standings. Like it's common knowledge around here. He sees the team a couple of points out of a playoff spot, and we're close. We can go for it, right? That's the reason why as long as the Canucks are winning, even if some games they're not deserving, but they find a way to win in overtime, as long as they stay close in the standings, I'd even be surprised if Bo Horvat gets dealt. And that would, for anybody who understands hockey, like that would be just devastating if he's not traded this season. And of course, what's going to happen is what happens every year. Canucks will miss the playoffs by a couple of points, and then the narrative will turn to, well, we were really close, right? And we don't need to blow anything up. Like we're right there. We're just a couple of pieces away.
And then you're stuck in the perpetual loop of, well, we're on the brink.
Yeah, and you know, like you give credit to the players, like they are getting the wins on the ice. Like you look at they came off 3 overtime wins, right? So they won 3 straight coin flips. They didn't look particularly good in any of the games, but besides the Arizona game. But like other than that, they didn't look very good. Last night they played well. They deserved to win last night. So you give credit to the players. It's just all the off ice stuff, and we're gonna lose our Bruce Boudreau bet. The Canucks are gonna find a way to miss the playoffs by a couple of points, and I'll be back here again next year talking about how tortured I am because here we go again.
Well, here's a comment in the chat real quick for you, so money. Bacon Boy saying, I hear a lot of talk about Bo Horvat and Brock Besser, but what about pending
Yeah,
UFA Kuzmenko? If he doesn't like his situation in the direction of the team, why would he stay?
absolutely. I think yeah, that's absolutely bang on, right? Like his contract is coming up, and I will never go against a player that bet on himself. He signed a 1 year deal to come here, knowing that he can probably light it up. He bet on himself to light it up, and now he's going to have money thrown on him thrown at him in the off season, right? So good for him. I he absolutely did he absolutely deserves it, and like, you can't even blame him if he doesn't want to sign here. Honestly, if I was him, I wouldn't sign here either.
Yeah, fair enough. I just continue to watch it. We dealt with it here in Toronto for a long time where it was like, well, you're pushing and you make the push and then you just miss the playoffs and it's like, well, we'll just go get a piece in the off
Yeah,
season. We'll go sign David Clarkson and you know how
there,
that turns
there
out
you
for
go.
Toronto, but no, it's just that bad position because then what happens with your draft positioning as well? Not what it
Exactly.
could be, so you don't get the greatest prospects coming in on the other end when you're missing all the playoffs like on that continuous basis. So it's just a frustrating in between spot, I guess. But I guess one of the frustrating things with the Canucks right now too is the lack of clarity on the direction that they're interested in
Yeah,
going in. Because you hear rumors about Horvat could be traded, Besser could be traded, but they're signing JT Miller to 8 year deals like before the season starts. It's like, well, what's going on here?
yeah,
So
and these things always start at the top, right? Like I mentioned earlier, like we have an owner who's not who's not very hockey ops savvy. He's more worried about like how much gate revenue he can get, even if it's like two games a year at home in the playoffs. He's totally fine with that.
Hmm.
well, a team that's going to be getting a lot of people out to watch them lately with a new acquisition that they had made is the Minnesota Wild. And Ryan Reeves has come in and just lit a fire under that team right now, whether it be physical play or just getting people going from fights or his locker room presence, whatever it is. Minnesota has kind of turned things around. They're playing a lot better lately. But last night, Ryan Reeves not only managed to fire up the Minnesota Wild and their bench, but he managed to fire up a lot of people online. Now, if you didn't get a chance to see this, I do encourage people, not while you're watching the show, but at least after the fact, or if you're on a separate device, go check out the Ryan Reeves hit from last night on Philip Roenick, I believe it was, on the Detroit Red Wings. He's basically real quick. He's coming through the middle of his own zone. Ryan Reeves turns around, sees him, and the most confusing thing I've ever seen. Roenick literally turns his head the other way, then turns back, looks right at Ryan Reeves, and skates straight on into his shoulder. Now, Russ, I'm going to start with you here. Did you have any problem with that hit?
I mean, according to the rules and according to, I guess, traditional hockey, technically it was not a penalty because, he used his shoulder and apparently it was a clean hit. But I just absolutely hate stuff like that in today's game. It seems like, they've worked very, very hard to kind of eliminate that stuff from the game, exact same way the NFL has done. And, I think that the days of these massive hits and checks into the boards and fights all the time are completely, gone. I think the league is, gone a new direction with it. They want more high scoring. They want fast skating. They want to avoid these nasty hits. And I mean, if you watched the game last night, he had probably 3 or 4 hits like this. I mean, the one across the middle on Gronick was absolutely brutal. The kid looked to his left for a split second, and Reeves was right in his face, right there. So I mean, technically, it was not a penalty; it was a clean hit. But I think that there's no reason for those hits in today's game. The NHL is going in a great direction with the way that the play has been going in the last few years, what Gary Bettman has done to drive play. And I just think, the new way that the league is going, there's no room for hits like that. So yeah, when I saw it, I mean, it gives you chills, man. The kid, like his head bounces off the ice, and it's just bad. So no, I might be kind of in the minority here because I'm kind of a more new age hockey fan. But yeah, I just hate stuff like that. Absolutely hate it.
I'm torn. I get it. I don't like seeing players lying on the ice. I don't like dirty hits. I don't like any of that, right? So like I'm completely on board with Russ on this. However, that that particular play last night, um, he's going for a big hit, right? Like it's open ice. Um, it's really unfortunate, but I don't know what else he could have done differently. Now, you could make the argument that he did leave his feet, right? He 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 kind of lunged into the hit. If you slow it down frame by frame, yes, you can absolutely make that argument.
Sure.
But I don't think he was looking for his head, right? That's the first thing I look for.
Sure.
He wasn't looking for his head, right? There was a bit of a follow through, and he did kind of lunge forward, right? So on that basis, fine. But again, it wasn't like he like made the big hit and then he like ran away or like skated away, right? He made his hit. Um, the other team responded, and he answered, right? So I don't necessarily have a problem with the hit itself. It's unfortunate with the aftermath. And also we've seen much more egregious things in this league than that. So
Yeah, it's definitely.
it sucks, but I don't know what else really he could have done differently. And unless if you mandate big hits out of the game, like he didn't like he wasn't even penalized, right? So like
No, yeah, there's no penalty. No, I agree with you. There's not much you could do. I mean, they've changed the rules as much as they can to
yeah,
try and avoid that. But yeah, that was a clean hit. That dude, you're skating up the middle, and you should probably have your head up a little bit more. But you can tell he literally looks to the left for 1 second to like see if his wing's coming up, and he just gets clobbered.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with both of you, especially in terms of you don't like the aftermath of it. And I agree with Russ in terms of like, yeah, this is something they're trying to remove from the game. And I think that that's fair. You should be trying to remove traumatic head injuries from the game and guys having to deal with stuff like that. That shouldn't be something that has to just be naturally dealt with. My perspective on it is that I think in order for that to happen and for it to be removed from the game, some of the onus in that situation does fall on the guy who got hit. In
Sure.
you gotta pay attention. Like, pay attention to who you're on the ice with and pay attention to where you are on the ice. Now, I know it was a split second that he turned his head, but like, this is an extremely fast game played by heavy guys who are extremely athletic on a sheet of ice wearing thin metal blades. Like, when you break each component of it down, it's like this thing is moving at rapid rates. So you kind of got to have your head on swivel at all times. That was just where I was at with it. And like the thing that I just kept going to in my head was like, when I played, I was always the smaller kid, the smaller guy on the ice. And if I ever got hit like that, I could tell you for sure, my coaches, my teammates, my parents, they were not going to come to me after and be like, man, that kid shouldn't have hit you that hard. It's going to be like, the hell do you think you were doing, turning your head, skating through the middle of the ice like that? So you learn pretty quickly, like, next time, keep your head up.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, no, I'm sure that kid learned his lesson.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah, so just wanted to know your opinions on that, but I think we're all pretty much on the same page there. You just hate to see that result, but
hard to avoid, yeah.
Yes. All right, let's look ahead to some of the games here tonight, get into some best bets if we have any. Let's start with the Toronto Maple Leafs heading into New York to take on the Rangers. Leafs now have points in 15 straight games. Marner, 23-game point streak. Michael Bunting quietly sliding along with a 9-game point streak. You got a goaltender in Samsonov who goes back to back in shutouts. Matt Murray is a top 5 in the league in goaltending statistics. Meanwhile, the Rangers are holding on to the last wild card spot in the East. They're tied with the Islanders in points right now, and they are starting to heat up a little bit here. A 4-game win streak, but if you look at a little bit bigger picture, they've only won 5 of their last 10 games. Looking at this game, is this one of those spots where maybe the Leafs are a little bit short on the price in terms of being favored at minus 120 heading into New York, taking on the Rangers plus 110 here?
Yeah, I did. I did bet the Leafs here. I think that they are short. Rangers are winning. They're winning their games, but I don't think they're playing particularly well right now. Um, they're they're having trouble generating offense consistently, and they have it. They have reverted back to their old ways here, kind of giving up high danger chances again. Now Shesterkin is trending better, and he is playing well right now. While the Leafs, on the other hand, they're just rolling. They've been doing this for a while now. We've talked about it for a while. Very, very, very strong defensively, and 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 it doesn't matter the caliber of the opponent right now. Yeah, they lost that overtime game against Tampa Bay, but I didn't really have a problem with their play in that game. So, what that shows me is that regardless of the opponent, they're, they're just rolling. So I think that they are coming in a little bit short right now, and I do like the I do like the Leafs. I played them this morning. You can still get them minus 120 right now. So um I did lock them in this morning here.
Yep, I think that's a good bet. You know, this is gonna be a rare agreement game for So Money and I. But yeah, I think the Leafs up to minus 125, minus 130 is a good play. The Rangers have been surprising a lot of people the last few weeks, but you know, if you look into the metrics a little bit more, last 10 games they're 23rd in expected goals for and 21st in expected goals against. Igor has been playing really well, but I think you can pretty much cancel that out or consider that a wash with the way Toronto's goalies have been playing. Both Ilya Samsonov and Matt Murray have just been unbelievable. I think another interesting angle that some of the guys in So Money and I's chat talked about a little bit was the Ilya Samsonov at 100-1 to win the Vezina. Now, he's on back-to-back shutouts. He could easily. I think his next game is this weekend against the Flames, and if he shows out in this next game this weekend, I think those odds could considerably drop. So I think if you're looking for a long shot and you're a Leafs fan, 100-1 on Samsonov to win the Vezina is pretty crazy. So that's just kind of an extra. But yes, I did lock in the Maple Leafs at minus 120 this morning.
All right, so we will go ahead and lock that in on the BetStamp app in the Edgework account there as a first official play for tonight. Leafs minus 120 going into New York to take on the Rangers. But Russ, be careful saying that around Toronto fans and the media here in Toronto, because you might start a storm saying Samsonov could be a possible Vezina candidate with that.
I'll knock on wood for you, but I think it's necessary to chat about. I mean, I think that number just seems insane to me. And when you look at some of the guys he's down there with, there's an argument to be made about that. But yeah, I'll knock on wood for you guys.
All right, next game here. Pittsburgh heading into Florida. Pittsburgh plus 106, Florida minus 110 in this one. I feel like this is mostly because Florida is going to be at home against the Penguins. Pittsburgh's been on a roll here. They're third in the Metro. They're really starting to get things going. They lost Chris Letang for like 2 games after he had suffered his second stroke while he's been in the NHL. And this team is on a 6-game win streak right now. Like, they're showing, hey, they can figure it out. They've been pretty good. They missed Chris Letang. They kept things going. Chris Letang comes back, and they keep it going when he comes back. Now, on the other hand, the team that they're going up against, Florida, has been very uncertain. They're 11th in the East right now. They're 3 points out of a playoff spot. Basically, like, on a nightly basis, you just can't figure out what you're going to get out of them. They're flip-flop back and forth, wins and losses. I was a little bit surprised to see Florida as the favorite here tonight against Pittsburgh, but so money is this surprising to you to see that number?
So before we begin, we have some breaking news on this game.
Okay.
Um, Kachuk was not on ice for the morning skate. He's going to be a game time decision, and the Panthers are also going with Bobrovsky and Ned. We did pick off Pittsburgh here at plus money. It's not plus money right now, but you can still get them right up to minus 105. So I still like I still like Pittsburgh there. We did we did bet them um, while we were actually on the show. So uh, so Pittsburgh's in. We do have a play on them, and just monitor Kachuk status. I think that if you're able to speculate, if you're in a position to speculate and be able to be around to monitor the warm-ups, it's worth it to take Pittsburgh right now, because if Kachuk does not play, then this number is going to continue moving up. So I think it's Pittsburgh's good right now. I did like them at plus money, and without Kachuk and possibly without Kachuk and Bobrovsky in goal. I do like them up to minus 110 at least.
So, real quick, Russ, before I let you go on this one, you can still find some plus money on Pittsburgh. It
Okay,
is
good.
rare. It is straggling. There's
Yep,
some behind.
disappearing.
Yeah, they're going quick. So if you want to go get that, you can get that now. But we'll lock it in. I see minus 101 is
Yeah.
best price available. That's likely widely available. So we'll lock that in.
Yeah, I mean, I have no issues with that play at all. We have played the Penguins a lot on this last, little stretch that they've had, and they've been playing amazing. 8-1-1 in their last 10 games, all the way up to third in the Metro. Yeah, these guys are playing well, and I agree with So Money's pick here. I think that's a good look, but I'm not sure that I will be on it. I actually like the over a lot more in this situation. Now I would wait. I think that is ticking down a little bit for whatever reason, probably because of the injury news, like we just talked about. But I think if you can find a over six, minus 120, minus 115, I think that's a solid play. I just played them myself this morning on offshore and locked that in, but I have not released it on the BetStamp app. But it looks like that's the way it's trending. It looks like Circa's got a six, and Superbook has a six. So I would play. That's the way I would look here. I think this both teams could easily get to three here, and 7 goals is very, very probable in this situation. I don't think we need to go into too many of the details. Pittsburgh's just been playing awesome. They're good. They're great on the road. They're good at home. They're very consistent. They're getting really good goaltending. And then Florida is very inconsistent. Some nights they're decent. Some nights they just are amazing. One thing we do know is Bobrovsky is terrible. 55th and won't save above expectation. So I don't think you can go wrong taking it over with him in net. And then I think some of these injuries will actually help us also. You kind of have to monitor the Tkachuk status. And that really looks like that's all. I think there's maybe a couple injuries on the other side also. But I do think, I've got over 7 here on my numbers. I think if you can get us over 6 at minus 120, that's a good play.
Okay. There was an over 6. I don't know if that board was just not refreshed, but there was an over 6 minus 115 still available. So we can lock that in as well. I do have one for a player prop. It's going to fit in nicely as well here. The only thing is I'm not seeing numbers widely available for this guy right now. It's Jason Zucker, anytime goal. There's only 3 books pulling in at this time, but I was kind of looking for like a 290 to plus 300 on him for anytime goal tonight. I'm seeing 280 and a 310, but the 310 is on a book that's not as widely available. I won't lock that in, but just for anyone who's watching, looking for it, if you can find one of those out there around plus 300 for Jason Zucker, anytime goal, I like that. So Money, real quick on this game before we move on. Bacon Boy asking, how much is Matty worth? How much is Matt Tkachuk worth? We were talking about on the Tuesday show, Nathan MacKinnon in a lot of the games after he was removed, the line was essentially adjusting of between 8 to 11 to 12%, depending on the game. That's obviously a very extreme example given the player and his impact on the team, and maybe that was an over adjustment. But how much is Matthew Tkachuk worth to either of you? I guess.
Yeah, so I think you're not gonna find a whenever you're evaluating one individual player, you're not gonna find a kind of a consensus on it. And I'm I'm very conservative with the value that I put on individual players. So that being said, I would put Kachuk at about 2.5%.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, probably just a little bit under that actually, but
Yep.
yeah. Whereas you'll probably see a lot of a lot of other modelers that are going to be closer to 3%. I think that's a little bit too high. So I
Yeah.
think around the 2.4% is probably where I would have them slotted in.
Yep, I completely agree. I was thinking, right now I'm just looking at my numbers with and without him, and it looks like about a 1.5 to 2% adjustment. And yeah, just to touch on I did hear the conversation about the McDavid, how much he's worth to the spread, and I think 11% is insane. I don't think there's any player in the league that's worth 11% to the spread. I would have him more like 5.5 or 6, and he'd be one of the highest players in the league. Other than a huge drop off from goalie, I don't think that there's one player that's worth 11% to a line.
All right, fair enough. I also see in the chat here a couple of people saying I show Zucker as being out. I thought he was coming back. I thought maybe I read the wrong report or something this morning, but I thought he was coming back today. So that's my bad. But all right, moving on to another game. Boston, LA. This one is in Boston. Boston is continuing to absolutely roll here. They've been just unreal all season long. Lead the East, leading the Atlantic. LA is starting to show a little bit of signs of struggling right now. And we're looking at this game. Boston is minus 220 best price. LA plus 210. Feel like that's probably pretty accurate, especially going into just kind of a middle of December game. Anything can kind of happen in these ones. I feel like it's one of those weird spots where like anytime I see the lines get way past that minus 300s, minus 400s, like the Leafs, the Ducks game the other night, obviously it ends up Leafs blow them out, but it's just like, it is an NHL game in the middle of December. Like anything can happen here. Anything can happen. Russ, how do you kind of look at this Kings Bruins game here tonight? Is this one just what it seems to be? Boston likely to go in Boston where they've been dominant and just roll over the LA Kings here?
Yeah, I do not see the Kings winning here. As far as looking at the number, my numbers are pretty much right on market. I don't think you're going to want to play, minus 200 or minus 220 on this team, even though they probably will end up winning. My numbers do show a little bit of an edge on the over just because Quick has been so bad, and the Kings' defense is just terrible. And when you look at the matchup between these two teams, they're completely opposite teams. Bruins are a great defensive team, decent on offense, but a little bit sluggish. And on the opposite side of the puck, the Kings are just terrible on defense and pretty good on offense. So they could I could easily see a couple of goals here by the Kings and Boston to put up 4 to 5, and that's to go over the total of 6. But right now, I'll have no play on this game. The Kings are on their final game of a 6-game road trip, so it's like, how much of an effort are they going to put forward against a team that's 14-1 at home? So I'm not sure that I'll have a play on this game. I would lean to the over, gun to the head. I would lean to the over, but everything else I think is right on market.
Yeah, I think that the Kings are such an interesting and polarizing team because um, they're not playing as bad as their numbers indicate. You look at that 6-0 game to the Sabres. I have no idea how that game got to 6 in the first place, right? But they're even if you go through their losses, like they're not playing poorly. The problem is is that they're not getting any goaltending, whether it's Quick or Copley or Peterson earlier in the season, and 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 we've talked about this where um, we kind of expected this from Quick entering last season, and he had a great year. So he kind of pushed back his kind of his demise here, and he also it also prevented Cal Peterson from growing into the role. So it shouldn't come as a surprise at Quick's age, um, that 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 he's struggling. Um, at this point, I don't know what can save the Kings, uh, aside from Cal Peterson coming back up and whatever was ailing him earlier in the season. Um, he got that rectified, when he was playing down there. But other than that, I I don't see what can change. 5-on-5, they're fine. They're able to drive play. For the most part, they're okay. So suppressing chances. They're just not getting any stops, and
Mhm.
I don't know how you that. So, um, yeah, don't lay this number on Boston. But if you can make any sort of argument about the Kings, whether this game or any game going forward at this point, if you can make any sort of argument that they're going to get even even average goaltending, you're going to see undervalued Kings numbers just
Mhm.
based on the final scores here. They're giving up 6 goals a game right now.
In the
Right.
third period, yeah, that game was 0-0 going into the third period. That was
Yeah.
just wild.
Um, okay. One other game here that kind of stuck out to me, especially in terms of what some of the odds were indicating on this one. Seattle Kraken going into Carolina for this game tonight. Seattle is plus 180 going up against the Canes minus 192 is best price that I was seeing. Seattle, they've been very good this year. They've taken steps in the right direction. They're getting young guys like Matty Beniers taking steps forward, and he's been incredible. But they're kind of stumbling a little bit in the most recent games that they've had. One win in their last five, but if you look at before that, they were 7-0 leading into that stretch in the 7 games prior to that. So it's been a little bit of a rough go for them. Is this number here tonight, Russ, more indicative of the last 5 games and the struggles that they've had as opposed to their team on the season and as a whole and what they actually are?
Yeah, I think so. I've loved this team because we have a couple futures. We have Dave Haxtell to win the Jack Adams. So I've watched this team a ton all season. And unfortunately, these last few games are kind of what people expected. They're coming back down to earth a little bit. Yeah, I mean 6-4-1 in their last 10. But I think a lot of this line has to do with how Carolina's been playing the last few games. I mean, this team has shot up. I have Carolina first in my power rankings now. Last 10 games, they're third in expected goals for, sixth in expected goals against. So I just think this Carolina team is starting to find it. And it absolutely helps when you have this PDR Kochekov kid just lighting it up in goalie. This dude is just unbelievable the last few games. Seventh in goals saved above expectation. So for me, this is a little bit more how Carolina's been playing, how well they've been playing on the line. And yeah, if we've got Kochekov against Jones in goal, I have right around minus 182. So there's no play for me at all. I'm right on market with that. Yeah, a little bit over 6 on my total, but I don't think you could play an over of the way this Carolina team has been playing. I mean, you just look at their past few games and it's 4-1, 3-1, 3-0.
Yeah.
They've just been playing awesome defense. For some reason, they're a little bit more sluggish at home. So I really think this could be like a 1-1, 2-1 game in the third period and could be actually a decent game to watch. But unfortunately, I don't think I'll have a play on this game. It'll be, the Kraken are on their last game of a 4-game road trip. So again, it's like that motivation angle, how much motivation they have going to play this hot Hurricanes team. So this will be a fun one to watch. I'll probably have this one on a side TV, but I highly doubt that we will have a play on this one.
Yeah, we've talked about Carolina quite a bit on this year. They've actually played consistently all year, even through their kind of, what was that, 5-game losing streak. So even through that, they've they've been playing well and they've been playing consistent all season. So um, I don't expect any of that to change. For Seattle, they did peak and they weren't. They're they're a good team. I like watching them, but they're not as good as challenging for the division good. So I think that it was inevitable for them to kind of, as Russ mentioned, come back down to earth a bit. So
Yeah.
I do like Carolina here. I'm not gonna lay that number unless if it comes down a bit, but yeah, I think it's a pretty straightforward Carolina win.
Mhm.
All right, question for you guys here. Question in the chat, but I mean, first, Bacon Boy saying if you guys are watching, hit like. So appreciate that. If you guys like the content, make sure to subscribe to this channel. You can turn on notifications and like this stream. You can also follow us on Twitter and find all of our picks in the BetStamp app as Edgework. But Bacon Boy asking, how much weight do you put into scorekeeper bias? Seems like Carolina is the biggest benefactor of that. I'll let either of you take that
Go ahead.
question.
Yeah, that's an outstanding question and something that it's not easy to answer because it's Carolina and like a couple other places that it's kind of what's kind of happening down there. But um,
What's that supposed to mean? So money. Where's this? Where else is that happening?
well, there's Nashville is one where they kind of I don't know who's keeping track of this like the shots and like what's happening in these places, but um, Carolina is by far the biggest culprit. So I don't know how to answer that. That's It's something that I've thought about, something I've struggled with, and I don't know how to answer that. Besides, keep it in the back of your mind when you are doing these things and when you're getting your numbers on Carolina. Just know that there is some bias there. Obviously, you have to adjust when they play on the road. So, um, like if if there's any significant differences between their home and road numbers like that, like that's something to bear in mind. But in terms of quantifying, in terms of providing a quantifiable answer to that question, um, I can't answer that because that's still something that I'm struggling with as well.
Yeah, I don't have a ton to add. It's extremely difficult to add value to something that you have no data on, that's not concrete, that's more of a narrative-y stuff. So yeah, there's a few things you can do. Have a trigger, in your model, add a little bit of half a percentage, quarter of a percentage if you think it's that big of a deal. Traditionally, I don't incorporate it into my modeling, but I think that's a great question. And in certain places it's a lot more prevalent than others, just like so money said.
All right, fair enough. Are there any other best bets that we're missing here for tonight? I think that was it, right?
So
Yeah.
we have more breaking news. Um,
Okay.
Elliott Elliott is confirmed
Mhm.
for Tampa Bay.
Mhm.
Um, those plus money overs flew off the shelves really quickly while we were talking. So we got we we got some of that, but it's a juiced 6.5 right now. So we're not going to be getting involved there. I think that the market adequately adjusted. Now, if that does dip a bit, if you're able to get a flat 6.5, that's something I would do. But
Mhm.
right now, with it being juiced, I won't be going there. But keep an eye on that. Whenever Elliott's in, we go over.
Mhm. That's the way I would look too. I still need to crunch a few numbers on that game. That's the way I would look. And then just looking at a few of these later games, the 9 o'clock games and on, I think Winnipeg at home, if you can get that number closer to one minus 140, is a pretty good play. They're just awesome at home, and Nashville's going the complete opposite direction. So that's a game that I will have my eye on. It looks like it's getting a little bit out of range. Yeah, that's minus 160 is tough. But look for a goalie confirmation, and if that dips down, that could easily be a play for us. And then the Vegas Golden Knights on the road. I mean, this one's pretty straightforward. I thought this would open up, minus 240, minus 260. I'm seeing like minus 190 now. So I think if we get Thompson versus Mrazek, the Vegas Golden Knights are just awesome on the road. So that's another one that I will have in my in my arsenal tonight. It's going to be one of those nights where it's probably 4 or 5 plays for me. So yeah, follow on the app and I'll probably be posting throughout the day. But other than that, we covered them.
And just a quick note on that Vegas game: Soderblom is confirmed in that game.
Okay.
Also, there was a move down from the 6.5. So if you're still to any straggling 6.5s, I would do that. But other than that, it's at 6 across the board.
All right. Well, there you have it. December 15th, Edgework. All of the games. Oh, Don Schultz saying Soderblom confirmed as well in the
Cool.
chat there. But thank you to everyone who tuned in here today. If you haven't already, hit like on this stream. Make sure you do so. If you haven't followed us on Twitter at Edgework Show, you can go and do that as well. Hit subscribe on this channel, like this stream, and you can turn on notifications by clicking that bell so you get notified every time we go live, Monday through Friday. Russ, So Money, thank you guys so much for joining me here today. Good luck on your bets tonight. Good luck, everyone in the chat, on your bets tonight, and I will see everyone next Thursday.
Yep. Good luck, guys.